Jennifer Murtazashvili, Director of the Center for Governance and Markets at the University of Pittsburgh. Jennifer, good to see you. You know, when you look at what happened in Crimea, sort of the same playbook as what's happening now, where Russia put out a referendum for people living there, said, okay, Crimea is now Russia. If Western governments had sanctioned Russia as hard as they're doing now, is it possible that none of this would have happened?
I think it would have been possible, but I don't think that Putin would have been deterred by this. You know, I think that what we have seen from Putin began before the invasion of Crimea and before those sanctions were put into place. So I think Putin, this is part of a much longer strategic plan that he has. And he has really tried very hard to antagonize the West, antagonize these kinds of conflicts. So sanctions may have had an effect, but I don't think it would have been as definite. It's really hard to say for sure.
Yeah, something else really interesting that's come up. Today, a Russian economist in the press is saying that the Russian economy will die by the winter because of the disruption due to the mass exodus of people, of working age, fighting age men, because they don't want to be sent to the front lines. We've seen, you know, by the counts that have been out there, at least 100,000 people flee. What do you think that's going to do to the Russian economy? Because up to now, it's proven pretty resilient.
Surprisingly resilient, but I think we haven't really seen the full effects of these sanctions yet. There's two things that we should look at: not only the exodus of these young men, but also the huge amounts of human capital and men and resources that are now being taken from the economy to the front lines. That's also a huge drain on the economy.
Right.
So that's going to affect that as well. We're also seeing huge exodus of migrant laborers from Central Asia and the Caucasus return to their home countries. Russia relies on these laborers to fuel their economy. So I think we haven't really seen quite yet the way that this economy is going to bottom out.
You know, throughout this now 7-month-long war and counting, analysts have been looking for some sign that Vladimir Putin is looking for a way out, looking for some kind of face-saving move to say, okay, our special military operation, as he calls it, is now complete. Do you see any sign of that? I mean, it just keeps not happening.
Well, one way to interpret, a charitable way to interpret these elections, these sham elections that we've seen in Ukrainian territory, could be a way to say, you know, this is Russian territory, this is where we're going to stop. To the West, this certainly looks like an escalation, but it could be a way for Putin to be, circling and showing that here's where we're going to draw the lines and we're not going any further. It's interesting that he didn't declare other territories to be part of Russia, even in an aspirational way.
Yeah, so when you look at these territories, I mean, the front lines are still right there through these 4 provinces. Ukraine is vowing to take them back and eventually take back Crimea as well. What are your concerns over what comes next? That Vladimir Putin is just going to flood these areas with all these troops that he's now calling up, and where do we go from there?
Obviously, we're going to see an escalation, but I think that looking at the ability of these Russian troops to put up a fight, are they fighting for something that they believe in? I think if we look at conflict after conflict, it's not just the numbers, it's the heart. Why are these soldiers fighting? What are they fighting for? And we're seeing, in Russia, a lot of people asking very serious questions about this, even in the media. So, of course, there's going to be an escalation, and from Ukraine's side, this will certainly be more bloody. But it does look like Russia is not invincible here. And the fact that they're sending more troops is no guarantee that these battles will go on actually for very long. These are very poorly trained people being picked up off the streets, being sent into battle with no training, no weapons, nothing. I think we're going to see the opportunity for a lot more surrenders, unfortunately, for Russia.
There have been pictures out there of quite elderly troops as well being called up. Jennifer Murtazashvili, great conversation. I really appreciate talking to you.
Thank you.